Hi, so here we are on the Zoom platform when you log in to zoom.us. And the first place that you go is into your settings. So the platform here is where you set all your basic settings that you want as standard. And then you can change them in the client interface as each meeting occurs if there's something specific you need to change. So you need to have your client interface downloaded. It's easier to schedule meetings rather than going in here all the time. So you go up here onto the top right, into resources, download Zoom client, and the options are there for Windows, Mac, or whatever system you happen to, Linux, whatever system you happen to be using. So you download the Zoom client and you end up with this icon at the bottom of the screen, the little blue box with the white video camera on it, and that is your Zoom client where you will then go in to schedule your meetings. So back to this, and we're going to get all the settings set up. So into settings, at the top, host video. So when you're scheduling a meeting, do you want your host video on or off? And this is where you set that. As you can see here, I have it switched on. So my video will be on. I may not be at my desk, but they will know that I am there and I am waiting to start. Participants video, I have that switched to off. Purposely because sometimes when learners are coming on board and they're fixing things, particularly now when we're all at home and maybe there's an interruption or the kiddies come in or something like that, I leave that off, and then when we get underway, then all the cameras are brought on stream when everybody is settled. Audio type, telephone and computer audio. Occasionally you might have somebody who will join a training by telephone, so they need to be able to access the audio from the training by their phone. Join before host. So allow the participants to join the meeting before the host arrives. So I'm going to switch that off. If participants join before the host and you don't have your waiting room set up, they can actually become a host. So I have that switched off because I have the meeting room enabled further on for security. Use personal meeting ID, use personal meeting, no personal meeting ID is used for external work. And these are all switched off here for that. So here we are, we have looking at now at only authenticated users can join meeting. So these two authentication of users, this can be edited here. You see here meeting authentication options. This particular option here is used in the main that you have the email that your learner is joining the meeting from the email they have provided to you. Okay, and that's what both of these authenticated users can join from the web client. So it means that even if they don't have the app, that it's still the same email that they have given to you to acknowledge their attendance. So they can either click into the web client, or if they have the app, that they are still logging on with the same one. Okay, now this can be edited. Here it says sign into Zoom default if they have it. Now I have it turned on, but this option of web client will also appear for them if they happen to say look on their mobile phone. They will see this as well. They get the option of either download the client or join from a web client. Okay, or download the app, should I say, or join from the web client. So these need to be on. They can also be used if you were training learners in a specific organization that you can, so if you're sending an email to Mary Smith at makeitup.com, that only email addresses that have the domain name of makeitup.com can attend, and nobody outside that address can attend. So require a password when scheduling new meetings? Absolutely. Require a password if you're doing an instant meeting? Yes, absolutely. And require a password for personal meetings? Yes. And you can set the password here as meetings go on, and you decide you're going to use a different one for each meeting. Now, embed the password in meeting link for one-click join. I have that ticked off because no, that means that they just get a link and the password and everything is enabled. But for security reasons, so that that link cannot be shared, even though it is sent to an email and you've approved the email address, to avoid any, it just kind of puts a threat on the security or whatever. I say no, I don't allow. I prefer a learner or an attendee to a meeting to actually have to type the password. I just think it gives it another layer of security. Again, passwords by phone. I have the participants muted on entry, so I control the mics, and the same way as previously, I have their cameras muted, and I have the upcoming meeting reminder set to 5 minutes. So you get a notification for upcoming meetings, and it's set in the desktop client, which is what I was saying at the beginning. You download that from resources, and it's so much easier. You don't have to go through all of these settings every time then that you want to schedule a meeting. So here we are on the next section, and it is encryption for third-party endpoints. This is only used if you are doing a stream of your meeting or training onto another platform, but using Zoom as your main connection with your client. So if, for example, you wanted to stream onto your website, or you were doing a webcast, which is on the corporate plan, and you were putting it out on YouTube and Facebook, and it was going all across all of those, this is where you kick in the third-party endpoints encryption to make sure that the connection between YouTube and Zoom, because it will have to go by another platform to connect the two of them, to make sure that all of that is encrypted and safe. Okay, so that's switched off there because I do not share any trainings across an encrypted service like that onto a third-party platform. Chat, private chat and auto-saving chats turned off because participants will chat to you in a training environment straight on screen, and there are non-verbal ways set further down of them giving a thumbs up or whatever to get your attention if they don't feel like waving their hand or saying excuse me during a training session. So I have the chat actually switched off here. Play sound when a participant joins or leaves. Yes, it's just a little ping, and actually when they know that there's a ping when they get up to leave, they're actually less likely to leave. So it works that way too, and it's a way of keeping everybody on board and focused on training or meeting or whatever you're using your Zoom for. File transfer, this is great if you happen to be particularly maybe doing a one-on-one, or if you have allowed the chat screen. So the chat screen must be allowed for this or enabled for this to work, because you can upload a Word document, you can specify the document that you want to upload yourself and pop it up onto the chat at the bottom, and it'll give you the option upload document. But again, that is over in your Zoom client, and when we go on to that you will see where that works later on, but you are just setting the preset here like all the other settings when you log in to the Zoom client here online. Okay, now the only thing is, if you happen to be using the third-party encryption service as we've just come across, file transfer will not work. Okay, because once third-party encryption service is on, it knows and recognizes that you are actually going streaming into the public domain, and therefore you cannot upload a file from your personal system where it ends up being out in the public domain, because then you are opening access to your computer. Feedback to Zoom, personal choice, display end of month experience or end of meeting experience feedback survey. I have them turned on, comes on randomly. Was this experience on Zoom okay? Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it is you like. It's down to yourself. Co-host, great feature, allows somebody else to be the host of the meeting, to maybe, if you have the chat on, that they can actually take control of the chat and filter any questions, filter any comments. Brilliant in a large group, 40, 50 people, and the trainer is delivering the training, and you have a large group of learners in front of you, but you know you might get the same question asked, you know, quite a few times. Well, then the fact that you have assigned somebody as a co-host, which you do, you assign your co-host again over on the client portal that we download onto our machine, and again, very easy to do. So that is where you will assign your co-host, but it means that they can actually filter all the questions. You're only seeing the question once or hearing it once. Their mic doesn't have to be on, their camera doesn't have to be on, and they can quietly work away in the background. It's also particularly helpful if you happen to be streaming live and you're on a platform like Facebook or Twitter or something like that, and there are comments coming in on a live stream underneath, that they can actually put the questions to you then, and it makes it so much easier. The trainer and the speaker only has to focus on what it is they are actually doing then at that point without distraction. Polling, again, it's a personal choice. Do you put up a poll? You can add a poll. Again, encryption, that third-party encryption has to be turned off. Zoom windows, that's an obvious one. Who can share? Do you want all your participants sharing? If you happen to be delivering an IT training and you need to keep an eye on what it is they're actually doing, or coding, or they're writing a piece of code and you want to make sure that the code is okay, then you can get all the participants to share their screens and you can actually watch what they are doing. You can also stop a screen share, and that's why it's really important for the host to remain in control of the cameras, the mics, and make sure that nobody else has access to them, which comes up in the settings. So nobody can access the host controls, but the host can access the audio, the video, and the sharing of the learners or the event attendees on the other side. The host, even though you're on Zoom and you're in a virtual setting, you still need to be able to control that setting with which you are delivering. Annotation, that comes up on your screen share and your whiteboard and a remote control. So during screen sharing, the person who is sharing can allow others to control the shared content. Now, I have that set to on for the moment, but I generally would have that turned off. I turned that on the other day for something specific, but generally, no, it's the host that remains control of any sharing. So when I was training somebody up on the Zoom, I switched it on and they had a go of what it does, and we will see that later in the Zoom client as well. So screen sharing, the person who is sharing can allow others to control the shared content. No, the host stays in control of the learning experience, and we turn that off. Non-verbal feedback, that's what I was saying about the thumbs up or the hand claps instead of having the chat going on the side. If anyone has a question, please stick up, you know, give me a thumbs up, or can everybody hear me on the microphone? Please give me a thumbs up, and that's fine. And then you can kickstart like that. Allow remove participants to rejoin. You might have somebody who is in a training or a meeting or whatever, and you might have to say, listen, can you go out and just, take 5, I'll let you back into the meeting, and you're still logged on, and then they will ping back into the meeting room, and you are going to let the participant rejoin the meeting. And some of this just happens. It's not that you are pressing buttons here, there, and everywhere to allow this to happen. This is an automatic built-in into the Zoom, because you will see it. It will actually show on the screen. Mary has left the meeting, and her name then moves up to the top. And then it'll say Mary wants to rejoin. So that's already built in, and so that reminder will come up on the screen. It's not that you're going to be pressing buttons and looking for buttons to allow people to come back in here and there. Breakout room, great. When you're working with large groups and you want to split them into teams, they might be working on a big project, and each of them are on different, particularly in team building actually. You might split them into their various team groups, then bring them all together back into the main room, and you set these breakout rooms again over in the desktop client that you have downloaded. Captioning, very handy. If you have a co-host and you are delivering a training or you are actually interviewing a speaker, and introducing management say to staff that you have a co-host who's going to type up the information of those people you were interviewing, their name, their title, or their department. That's where the closed captioning is very handy, and somebody can come in and your co-host can come in and take over that for you. Again, it's something you don't have to worry about. I don't let anybody save captions, control my camera, and I don't use the HD video because the internet or the broadband width that the learner on the far side of my camera or the participant on the far side of my camera may not be as up to speed as what I have. So there's no point in me having all bells and whistles on my end if the person on the far side of the camera actually has a problem downloading or watching because their bandwidth just can't cope. Auto answer group in chat. Oh, sorry, the identify guest participants in the meeting. This is actually to do, I have somebody else that has access to my account for specific work that I do. So I have that switched on. This is actually people you add to your account. It is not, and that they can actually identify those participants as well that are going to be coming on board. Okay, so it's not so much that other participants out there can identify who's coming on board. It's that somebody that you have allowed access onto your account. So it might be a corporate account that you are in, and there could be 4 or 5 of you that are using the same account, or and all have access. There might be an administrator, one of you might be designated the host, somebody else might be designated an administrator. So this is where they can, participants belonging to your account can see that a guest is participating in the meeting or webinar. And that's what that one is for. I have chat turned off, so obviously auto answer group and chat is off. So only show default email when emailing invites or when sending invites. Okay, so I have that turned on. Basically what that means is, and the language sometimes used here in Zoom, because they use the word participant not only to refer to those on this side of the camera, but also to the participant on the far side of the camera. So it can get a bit confusing. But basically, this is more for an organization where, or where there are more than one person. I am one person, so mine it'll always be from my email. But if you have 4 or 5 people in your business or your organization that are going to be emailing attendees to come on board into a training or a learning scenario or a meeting, you turn this on so that they can only use, say, the business email address, which, makeitup.com. So Mary, John, and Joe at makeitup.com can only use that email address when they are sending out invites. And that's why you turn this on. Okay. And the HTML, that's for Outlook. I don't use Outlook. Allow users to select their own client settings on their stereo. Yes, absolutely. It's whatever they can hear on their end. And allow users to select original sound set. I mean, the sound settings for the client side, I leave completely up to the client on the far side of the screen. The waiting room, when somebody then clicks the link, they're joining the meeting, they have the password, and it says, you are now in the waiting room. A message comes up actually saying that you are in the waiting room, the host is getting ready, please hold on, or words to that effect. And that's what they see on the screen. So they know that they're in, their password has worked, and they're just waiting for the host then to actually admit them into the main virtual training room when they will be on screen with you. Show a join from your browser link. This refers back to the phone that maybe isn't up to date, or the PC that's not up to date, and they click on that, and they literally, when they click the browser link that is in the invite, because they do attach a browser link as well, instead of downloading the app, that they can just click the browser link and access the meeting that way. Allow live streaming meetings. So you can do this and you turn on that third-party encryption, as I said earlier on, and you can also stream directly to your website or to whatever platforms you happen to use when it comes to streaming. There's so many. YouTube, which is there, you tick the box. But each time, even though you have it ticked on, allow live streaming, what happens is like the encryption earlier on, it's when you decide that, and it'll be in the client portal that we download, you will see there is an option connect to Facebook, YouTube, or whatever it is. You physically have to connect each time. It doesn't take that connection to the third party service as automatic. You actually have to select it each time you go in. It does not default to that. So it means that if you have left on live streaming and selected one or two platforms here and you've forgotten about them, your training is not going to automatically stream live a private training. You physically have to click another button every time you want to stream live, and that will be seen on the desktop client that we have downloaded, which is this one here at the bottom of the screen. Email notifications is very straightforward. And this is schedule privileges down here. I'm just going to click one. I'm not going any further because my authentication codes are at the very bottom there. But you can assign privileges to other people who come on board. If they want to hold the meeting on your behalf, if you're sick, you can pop it in here, and you can't attend the meeting. They get all the privileges that you would have as a host. So the next part of this then, just on this screen, the only other thing that you are concerned about is if you happen to be recording a meeting or an in-house training. It might be an in-house training that you want to save for later on to play back to new recruits. You go up to the recording tab, and in here you decide where you're going to record to. Now, local recording obviously is to your computer, your system, your PC, your laptop, whatever it is, and you turn this on. However, I prefer to save to cloud because downloading and saving to the computer all the time can use up an awful lot of memory space and slow things down. So I save it to the cloud, download it when I'm ready to actually work on it. I use another video editing suite, and then it means I can get rid of the recording. I now have it fully edited and completed from the video editing suite, and it saves on the space. You don't have all the noise in the background that goes with it. So that's the only other thing on this part of the Zoom.us when you log in that you need to have a look at. The rest is all down to admin, and the bulk of in here on the admin side is for those bigger accounts, the bigger corporate accounts where you have a minimum of 10 hosts. But for delivering it in a training environment where it is one trainer delivering to numbers on a number of participants and learners on the far side, it's the settings tab really is the only one where you need to set up anything here on this platform. Everything else you will do from the client interface at the bottom that you have downloaded onto your computer, and we will get to that now.